There you go, Rabbi. Let me make you continue.
Yeah, why do I always get muted?
Because
Not sensitive. Hi, Gail. How are you? You having a nice Sukkot? Hi, Sherry. My name is changed to Rabbi Mark. Yes, that happened a long time ago.
Isn't that your name?
That can be my name. It's all right. Okay. I've been getting into Chris Christopherson. I think everybody should listen to his music. He died a couple of weeks ago, and I realized how talented he was. Not consistently, but he was pretty good. Do you know he wrote Me and Bobby McGee? Okay, everybody took that very well. Why is there a cat? What's the cat's name, Sherry? I can't hear. Nobody has any volume. Well, you write it on a piece of paper and hold it up. Cat. All right, it's about 6:01.
I can hear you fine. We can hear you fine.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. How are you, Donna?
The cat's name is Sunny.
Sunny, with a U or an O?
With an O. Like
Oh,
Sunny,
okay.
like Sonny Corleone, because he's a mafia cat.
Oh
He
boy.
is. Well, how do you become a mafia cat?
Because he's all over the place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's
He's a very good boy.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I don't want a mafia cat with attention disorder. Too bad about Phil.
Yes, yes. But I'm grateful that they sent him home and that he was hungry, and I'm praying that he's gonna be okay.
Yes, yes, indeed. Right. Okay. Well, we'll dedicate the service to him because he's a Talmud Torah. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Okay, well, I'm here to tell you that the Shalom Aleichem is the only remnant we're going to have from the early part of the service. This is Shabbat Chol HaMoed Sukkot, the intermediate Sabbath of Sukkot. And therefore, the Torah, the service gets altered somewhat. We try to eliminate Shabbat at the beginning, but then it kind of recedes later on. I'm sorry, it comes forward later on. It's very strange. It's like a Shabbat and Sukkot, and they kind of slide alongside of each other. And once in a while, one of them gets in the front and the other one recedes. But it's just a challenge, that's all. The Torah reading is V'zot HaBracha, which I'll be talking about later, which is the last reading in the entire Chumash, the entire 5 books. And it talks about Moses, who upset God again. Moses and God are like a strange little couple throughout most of the Torah. And they get along sometimes, and sometimes they don't. And Moses says, if you don't like what I'm doing, take me out of your book. But of course, God doesn't do that because he needs a front man, and so on. But right now, we're going to do the Shalom Aleichem, then we're going to skip the Psalms at the beginning of the service, and we're going to skip the Lecha Dodi, because Sukkot is on top right now. So we'll do the Shalom Aleichem. Page 13. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharei, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malchei Lachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lai 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 lai. La 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 la. Baruch Hu l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tzechem Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lai 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 La 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 la. That's it. We don't do the 6 Psalms, which remind us of the 6 days of creation. We don't do the Lachadodi. We go directly to page 23. Page 23. Mizmor, shir liyom Shabbat. Mizmor, shir liyom Shabbat. Okay. It is good. Let's do responsively. It is good to acclaim Adonai, to sing your praise, exalted God, together to affirm your love each morning and your faithfulness each night, to the music of the lute and the melody of the harp. Your works, Adonai, make me glad. I sing with joy of your creation. How vast your works, Adonai, your designs are beyond our grasp. The thoughtless cannot comprehend, the foolish cannot fathom this. The wicked may flourish, springing up like grass, but their doom is forever sealed, for you are supreme forever. Your enemies, Adonai, your enemies shall perish, all the wicked shall crumble. But me you have greatly exalted. I am anointed as with fragrant oil. I have seen the downfall of my foes. I have heard the despair of my attackers. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. They shall grow mighty like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they will thrive in the courts of our God. They shall bear fruit even in old age. They shall be ever fresh and fragrant, to proclaim Adonai is just, my rock in whom there is no flaw. And I think I've said in the past that my knowledge, my acquaintance with palm trees is totally through the Torah, totally through Judaism. And when I was a kid, they told us, why is the palm tree compared to a righteous person? Well, let's do that. Why is the palm tree compared to a righteous person? Anybody know? Da, 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 da. Because the palm tree, which grows in the desert, sends its roots, its tendrils deep, deep, deep into the earth to gather up whatever drops of water it finds. And I thought, wow, that's impressive. I want to be a palm tree. So the palm tree became a favorite plant. And then guess what? We moved to Florida. And what do palm trees do in Florida? When the slightest wind comes along, what does the palm tree do? I mean, what kind of tree is this? I never heard of such a tree. But anyway, so the last time when we were having a hurricane, Annbeth's car is parked underneath a very dangerous looking palm tree. It's already cockeyed. It's already growing on a slant. And she says, do something. My tree is going to get crushed. And we thought of moving the car, but we didn't in the end. And the tree survived. It was a very strange, these palm trees that grow sideways and backwards and upwards and thiswards and thatwards. Really, I have no respect for palm trees anymore. So that went very well. Let's go on to page 24. We'll read responsively because we didn't have a chance to do any responsive readings before because we skipped those Psalms. Adonai is sovereign, crowned with splendor. Adonai reigns, robed in strength. Together, you set the earth on a sure foundation. You created a world that stands firm. Your kingdom stands from earliest time. You are eternal. The rivers may rise and rage. The waters may pound and pulsate. The floods may swirl and storm. Yet above the crash of the sea and its mighty breakers is Adonai, our God supreme. Your decrees, Adonai, never fail. Holiness befits your house for eternity. Sherry, did you bring for everybody? I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I should keep my mouth shut. I apologize. Okay. All right. It's okay. Fine. It's later. You'll meet me in the parking lot. I'll have a piece. Okay. So very good. Let's take a look at the Baruch Hu. No, I have to talk about the Torah portion. The Torah portion. Let's do that. Here we go. The Zod HaBracha. See, Moses was a very talented person. He was so talented How talented was he? He was so talented, he wrote poems that we're not sure if he actually wrote them or not. For example, the most famous poem, which Moses wrote, of course, is the Shirat Hayam, the Song of Moses at the Sea of Reeds. Because what happens is that while the Egyptians are floundering around in the tide, the Israelites are walking between walls of water. The water stood up like a glass wall on both sides. If you believe that, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. But the significant thing is this is the kind of thing they tell you in Hebrew school. You're little. You cannot protect yourself from the onslaught of information. And they tell you these things. Not only, they say, not only did the water stand up like a glass wall on either side of the Israelites. Oh, no. There were trees. There were fruit and vegetable trees growing out of the walls of water. So the Israelites are walking along saying, what? We're not worried. The Egyptians won't catch us. The Egyptians are all going to drown. Let's hapanash. Let's have a date. Let's have a fig. Let's have a plum. What kind of mishigas is this? But this is what they teach you. And it was on the final, too, so I couldn't get away from it. All right, but Moses writes the Song of the Sea. And we're pretty sure that he wrote either the whole thing. And how do you know that didn't happen? I didn't know it happened, but I am a naturalist. I am a logical thinker. I don't think it possible to God to make a horn and hard art while they're walking through the walls of water and say, here, have another cup of coffee. Oh, here's a nice piece of cake. Here, you'll have cake. Really. So you want to believe it, gesundheit hate. I personally I take umbrage. That's it. I'm taking umbrage. Okay. So anyway, he writes that song. Then later on, what does he write? He writes a psalm. How could he have written a psalm? Psalms was written centuries after Moses lived. Never mind, I'll tell you why. Because if I am sitting and writing and I steal something from another rabbi, is that plagiarism? Of course. Is that a good thing? No, not at all. However, in ancient times, if I wrote a poem and they said, that's a nice poem, you did a good job, I didn't do it, I would say. I didn't write that poem. Moses wrote that poem. Solomon, David wrote that poem. You see, it's considered a compliment to the other person to ascribe authorship to them. So we know for sure that Moses did not write Psalm 90. But it's called Tfilah Moshe Ish Elohim, a prayer of Moses, the man of God. The kicker there is the letter Lamed, because Tfilah, a prayer, Le Moshe Ish Elohim, Le Moshe, man of God. What is Le? Le could mean of, Le could mean similar to, Le could mean by, Le could mean in the style of, because Le is one of those words. The beauty of Hebrew is that unless you see the preposition in context, you can't figure out what it is. And very often there's more than one meaning. So I don't know. Did he write that? Fine. He wrote Psalm 90. And Adam wrote one too. Do you know Adam wrote a psalm? There's a psalm attributed to Adam. I don't know where he kept it. I don't know where he wrote it. I don't know if he put it in his pocket. He didn't have pockets. He didn't wear pants. He wore fur or something. Okay. So we're not sure if Adam actually wrote that, or again, in the style of Adam, in the manner of Adam, by Adam, for Adam, with Adam, from Adam. It could mean all of those things. That's the beauty of Hebrew. Okay. So anyway, moving along here. Okay, so the Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret Torah readings are from Leviticus 22:23. Why, Favos? Because it's not narrative. This week's Torah reading is not narrative in the slightest. It is rather that they give a list because it's a harvest. Sukkot represents the culmination of the harvest. Pesach is the beginning of the harvest. That's why we have barley. Barley is apparently a grain that ripens first. And from what do we get barley? For what do we use barley for? Anybody know? I only get one answer for this. Barley mushroom soup. Very good, Gail. You got it. Okay. And that goes back to the days when you had a can of soup and you added a can of water to add to the can of soup. I never understood that, but it seems to work. Anyway, So that's barley. That's the beginning of the harvest. After 49 days after the Omer, we have Shavuot, which is an important holiday because why? Because of blintzes, because of cheese. That's really the only significant thing about Shavuot, that we have blintzes. They were telling me over at John Knox. I went to John Knox earlier this evening. They were quelling from the new chef. The chef made them break the fast. Oh, is geschmack. Everybody got 3 blintzes. Count them, 3 blintzes. I thought they were different kinds of blintzes. I said, what kind of blintzes were? Oh, they were all cheese. All the blintzes were cheese, but we got 3 each, and we had raspberry syrup to go with them. That's very nice. So anyway, and the other thing they did relating to Yontif is they threw the sins into the water, but they couldn't throw bread into the water because of the ecology. The ecological system did not allow the absorption of bread, or maybe it would waterlog the ducks or something. So they threw rocks in the pond to represent their sins. So I thought that was a very original manifestation of Tashna. So what else? You would go to the temple. By the time the temple is built by Solomon, this is around the 1st century Common Era, before the Common Era, 1st century before the Common Era, something like that. But anyway, they would go to the temple, and you couldn't take Elsie and Elmer, the cow and the cow, with you, because that way, if they were walking along and God forbid Elsie or Elmer fell and broke a leg, you can no longer offer Elsie or Elmer in the temple because they're not complete. They're not whole. They have a broken leg. So you sell Elsie and Elmer after you leave the farm. You take the money in your hot little hand and you go to the temple. And in the Azara, that is the outer court of the temple, there was a market where you could trade in your money for an animal. If you were very poor, you would buy a dove. You could give the dove with its feathers on. You could burn the dove with its feathers. That would have made a gosh almighty stink, I'll tell you. Really, you don't want to be burning feathers. So what else? Then they would make the offering, and the priest would get a section, and the Levites would get a section, and you got a section, and the remainder would be burned on the altar as a complete offering, what they called, sadly, a Holocaust, because it meant it was burnt up completely. So this teaches us that the harvest season was a time of rejoicing, a time for partying, and the people, the neighbors of the Israelites, they had harvest festivals too, but for them it was a little bit different. It was an orgy. Orgies are very easy to stage manage because you bring the chips, I'll bring the dip. Don't even bother getting dressed. Just come. We just want to see you in all of your glory. So they would have orgies. Why? Because when a man and a woman would have sex at the orgy, it mimicked the actions of Baal, the rain god, in fertilizing Astarte, the earth goddess. So if you do the thing, if it resembles that particular act, then you're hoping that the gods will bless you with water. The Israelites never did this. We were the orgyless people. We just got together, we hopped a nosh, it was very nice, we had a good time, it's good to see you, I'm glad you're dressed, and that would be it for that. And this is on all 3 of the pilgrimage festivals. What are the 3 pilgrimage festivals? I'll give you a hint. Matzah. Pesach. Pesach is a pilgrimage festival. What else? Sukkot, lulav, and etrog. By the way, we have sets of lulav and etrog at the temple. We don't do it on Shabbat. But if you're interested, you can come during the week. Monday and Thursday is a good time because the office is open. And they're in the refrigerator in the Milchig refrigerator kitchen. Okay. So, and we shake the lulav and the etrog. It's very hard to do if you don't have an actual lulav and etrog. I used to have a stuffed one. I had a stuffed lulav and a stuffed etrog. I don't know what happened to them. Shame. But you shake it in all the compass points. Front, right, back, left, up, down, to show that God is everywhere. So that's what we do. What else? So later on Simchat Torah, which is the tail end of Sukkot, we finish reading the Torah. We read V'zot HaBracha, and then we immediately start again with Genesis, with Breshit, because we want to impress God. Because if you hesitate If you do not go from learning this to learning that, then Satan tugs at God's sleeve and says, look at these people. They don't appreciate you. You do so many things for them, and they neglect, hello, Walter. They neglect I like walkthroughs. Let's have one of the dogs walk through next. Okay, very good. Hello, Walter. Nice to see you. Happy holidays. So where were we? Oh, yes. We were, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It's what it is. Oh, and this is a sad Torah portion also, because God tells Moses, climb up on top of Mount Nebo, Har Nevo, and you will die. Nobody's supposed to know the day of their death. It would have been very depressing for Moses. Say, Moses, how are you today? Well, I'm going to die. God told me. And I don't think that's fair. I really have an issue with that. But Moses takes it okay. Where is Moses buried? Anybody know? Where is Moses buried? Not Crown Heights. We don't know. God himself buried Moses. And where did he bury him? In the mountains of Moab. Why Moab? Moab is not they're not a tribe which is enamored of Israel, and vice versa. But the question is, why did God bury Moses in the mountains of Moab? Because I think Moab got a bad rap because of that incest thing, and God was trying to make it up to them. So he deliberately buried his greatest prophet. Moses was the greatest of the prophets, both of those who preceded and those who followed him, because, excuse me a minute, because God gave him the covet, God gave him the respect, the honor, burying him himself, and nobody should know where Moses is buried. Why? Because we would take his tomb and make it into a shrine. The Holy Land is full of shrines. We were traveling around. This was in the summer of '83. We really need to go back. We're really kind of overdue. And I hope that the situation straightens itself out eventually, so that we should all live in peace and everybody can get along. That would be nice. But anyway, so Moses, we don't know where he's buried because everybody gets a tomb. The most famous tomb, of course, is Marat HaMachpelah, the cave of Machpelah, which is in Hebron, And who's buried there? Everybody who's anybody in Judaism is buried in the cave of Machpelah. Adam and Eve, that's not easy to find Adam and Eve and bury them there. Later on, of course, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Leah, not Rachel. Poor Rachel. Rachel had a fertility problem and she died on the road, and she's buried in a kever, in her own particular tomb. And that tomb has become a favorite spot for folks who have fertility problems to go and to pray and hopefully have a baby as a result. And we never made it there. I'm not really sure why. I'll have to look it up for some reason. But anyway, what you do is you take a red ribbon and you tie a red bendel around the entire building. That takes a lot of ribbon. That's a big building. Woo! It's not the Empire State Building. It's respectable, but it's really a beautiful spot. One day I'll see it. So what else? What else? Who else is buried there? That's about it. That's all we know who are buried there. Nobody I know otherwise. And it doesn't look like a cave. It's an ohel. It's a building, and the cave itself is in the downstairs. And for a while there, the Jews and the Muslims were sharing, but they don't share very well. What can I say? Oh, I hope everybody had a good fast on Yom Kippur, because while I was fasting on Yom Kippur, I had one thought in my head. I am so glad we don't have Ramadan. Could you imagine if Jews had to fast for an entire month? The complaining, the kvetching, the tzimtzing, all the business. Oh, Rabbi, I have an issue, da, 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 da. Because I had a friend years ago. She was a very devout Muslim. And she told me on Ramadan, you get up very early in the morning. You get up at 6 a.m. and you can have a little sneaky snack. And then you fast the entire day. And it's not like us, where we sit in temple most of the day and we feel sorry for ourselves. Oh, no, 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 no. They would go to work if they had a job. This woman worked in the university. She was the one in charge of calling up the students who had managed to disappear themselves. And she didn't eat a thing, no food, no water. Later on that evening, every day at 8 o'clock, you go to a nice little meal at the mosque, and it's very lovely. It really is. I just don't think I mean, I love my people. I really do. I'm very proud to be Jewish, but I don't think we have the staying power, whatever it takes, to fast for an entire month. Mind you, because I said you don't fast the whole time. The fast breaks in the evening and it can break in the early morning. But the end of this Torah portion says, Lo kam b'Yisrael k'Moshe od. There never was another man in Israel like Moses, who spoke with God the way I'm speaking with you. He was on such a high madrega ruchanit, such on a high spiritual level, that he spoke with God the way you speak to a friend. And yet he didn't speak to God face to face, because God said, nobody can look upon my face and live. That's why I love this stuff. You can't make this stuff up. He spoke to God's back. And that sadly tells us that when you're in a fix, when you're having a problem, you don't think about it. You hope that God is with you, but you don't really focus. Later on, in retrospect, when you see God's back, that is the time that you, what is he doing? That is a nice man. I like it. All right. Some people. Okay. Anyway, so what do we got here? And then we immediately start the first chapter of Genesis again. Why? We immediately finish the Torah. That's the Chatan Torah. That's the one who finishes. And then you have the Chatan Breshit, the one who begins. Why? Because you don't want the Satan, once again, to tug at God's sleeve and say, look at this. These people, you gave them the greatest treasure that could ever be. They neglected study even for a moment. So that's why we immediately launch into Genesis. And I love it. I love Breshit. Breshit remains my favorite book of all time. Why? Because it's all family relationships. And every family is strange. I think it was Dostoevsky who said, all happy families are alike. All sad families are strange. But no, I think it's because we love human relationships. That's one of the reasons I became a rabbi, because everybody has a story. And thank God I get to hear a lot of those stories. So it's such a wonderful, wonderful thing. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing with Moses dying, that immediately, boom, we get into Adam and Eve, we get into creation, and we recognize what an absolutely gorgeous planet we have. So that is the Torah portion, V'zot HaBracha. And we're going to do Ma'ariv now, the evening service, which you will find on page 28. Please rise. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Li'olam Va'ed. Amen. You may be seated. Let's read the top left paragraph. Praise to you, Adonai, our God. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, your word bringing the evening dusk. You opened with wisdom the gates of dawn, designed the day with wondrous skill, set out the succession of seasons, and arranged the stars in the sky according to your will. Adonai Tzvaot, you create day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness away from light. Eternal God, your sovereignty shall forever embrace us. Praised you, Adonai, for each evening's dusk. Baruch atah Adonai, Ma'ariv Aravim. The literal translation of those last two words, Ma'ariv Aravim, means who evens the evening, who gives us the evening. Okay, God makes the earth turn, and everything fits in its place. Let's take a look at page 29, the lower right-hand paragraph. We'll do this together. And I have to say, what I read about Sukkot in Israel this year is that last year, when October 7 took place and the terrible massacre with people suffering and dying, it's very sad indeed. But the point is that the sukkahs were still up, because that took place on Simchat Torah, which meant it was a yontif again, and also that we did not have time to take that. They didn't have time to take down the sukkahs. So when they went back to the kibbutzim and they're slowly filtering back, they found out that the sukkahs were still remaining standing. In one instance, one of the kibbutzim had a sukkah that was so big and so grand, they used it to house troops. They used it as a place to give briefings. And they had to go back this year and they had to build their sukkahs again. So the army furnished sukkahs for the soldiers in the field. It's the first time in 20 years that there are sukkot standing in Gaza. Because don't forget, under Arik Sharon, when he was the prime minister, they left Gaza because they didn't like what the United Nations was saying about them. They never like what the United Nations says about them because that's the United Nations. But anyway, they went back and so many of them used yellow in building their sukkot. It's that old song, tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree, to show that they're thinking of the hostages. And people were using red and yellow and black to decorate the sukkah. And some people were just being very low key in terms of their sukkah decorations. But it's a festival. And Sukkot itself in Israel is considered a children's festival. The children are encouraged to help build the sukkah. And it's a favorite sort of thing, running in and out of the sukkah and eating in the sukkah. And some people sleep in the sukkah and so on. All right, so that's I hope they're very resilient. They'll come back. They'll bring it back. Let's turn to page 30 for the Shema. Cover the eyes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Uncover the eyes. Baruch Shem Kivod, Malchuto Leolam Voed. Let's read the English paragraph. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. These words which I command you this day you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and on your gates. Let's turn, please, to page 31, the lower right-hand reading below the line. You are my witnesses, says God. Together, there is no king without a kingdom, no sovereign without subjects. When you are my witnesses, I am Adonai. The coin of God's kingdom is Torah, to be reflected in study and deeds. God is the first, God is the last. There is no God but Adonai. The Torah is given each day. Each day we receive it in you if we wish to make it our own. Testify for me, says Adonai. In your love for me, teach your children, embracing the Torah now and forever. We accept God's sovereignty and reverence, treating others with love, studying Torah. May this be our will as we witness. That's very nice. Rabbi Harlow did have a way with the phrase. Let's do the Mi Chamocha on page 32. Mi Chamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Kamocha, Nedor Ba'kodesh, Nohorati Lot, Osef Ele, Alchut Charov Anecha, Mokeayam Lifnei Moshe, Seili Anu V'Amru, Adonai Imloch Li'olam Voed, Benemar, Kifad Adonai et Yaakov, Ukialo Miad Chazak Mimenu, Baruch Atah Adonai, Goal Yisrael. Amen. Let's read the top left-hand paragraph on page 33. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace, and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler, guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace, now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Fros aleinu sukat shalomecha, baruch atah Adonai, aporei sukat shalom, aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol haolam kulo. Amen. I'd like to read the names of the Cholim: Paul Dobbs, Refuah Shlema; Harun Imran, Refuah Shlema; Ken Tribble, Refuah Shlema; Sheila Bergman, Refuah Shlema; Nancy Borden, Refuah Shlema; Elisa Pepper, Refuah Shlema; Jeff Stern, Refuah Shlema; Hannah DeClaire, Refuah Shlema; Sonia and Herb Yevsky, Refuah Shlema; Vincent Patricia Massey, Refuah Shlema. Also, Mr. Phil Rothman, my colleague, and I feel I'm friends with him through Sherry. So wishing him refuah shalema. Everybody should be all right. Okay, let's take a look. And of course, if you have a name that you'd like mentioned, please keep it in your mind while we were reading the paragraph. Page 34. Vishamru b'nei Yisroel et ha-Shabbat, asod et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisroel et ha-Shabbat, asod et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisroel, oti liolam, oti liolam, oti liolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisroel et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisroel et ha-Shabbat, asod et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. And the half Kaddish, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Amen. Yalmad yivrach irute v'yamlich malchute v'chaye chon uvyo omechon uvchaye d'chol beit Yisroel bagala bagala uvizman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yeheshmei Rabba Mevorach Liolam Liol Meomaya Barach Yitbarach Vishtabach Yipohar Vitromam Vitnase Vitadar Vitale Vitalal Shemei de Kudisha Brichu Liela Mikol Birchata Vishirata Tushbechata Vinechemata Damiran Bialema Bimeru. Amen. The Amidah for Shabbat, page 35b. And please, at the bottom of 36, include the Ya'aleh V'yavo, which is a special prayer for Chag HaSukkot. It ends on page 38, after which you may be seated. Okay, thank you. I wanted to share with you this book, which is a classic, is the Sukkot and Simchat Torah anthology. It was edited by Philip Goodman. I don't believe that Dr. Goodman was a rabbi, but he was a big noise back in the 60s at the Jewish Publication Society. And the Jewish Publication Society has books which are absolutely beautiful and also unbelievably expensive. But I don't know, they say print is dead. Everything's online these days. So let's talk about something relating to Sukkot. Oh, the Jews of Berdichev. The Jews of Berdichev were sorely distressed because there was no etrog available for Sukkot. So Rab Levi Berdichever Rebbe, Rab Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, dispatched a messenger to purchase at least one etrog regardless of cost, because nobody in town had an etrog. I mean, come on, this is Poland, right? Poland, I don't think they believed in citrus fruit. They had maybe bananas, they had maybe apples. You can't make a blessing over an apple if they're using it as an etrog. On the outskirts of Berdichev, the messenger encountered a Jew from another town, and he had a beautiful etrog, and he escorted him to Rav Levi Yitzchak. The rabbi tried in every way to persuade the stranger to remain in Berdichev over the festival, so that the entire community could pronounce the blessing over the etrog. The man was adamant. He had to be on his way to spend the festival with his family. Finally, Rav Levi Yitzchak offered this proposal. If you will remain in Berdichev for Sukkot, I promise you that when I die, you will share my portion in Olam Haba, in the world to come. This is and the Jew was very happy, and he said, yes, I'll do that. Now, it's a wonderful thing, spend eternity in the company of a great rabbi. It's not probably where they put the regular folks. I don't mean they put them in the bad place. I mean that they put them in a lesser chamber of heaven. And if you believe this stuff, why not? Okay. I mean, I believe in some kind of afterlife, because a human being is a precious gift, God's most precious gift. You can't say that when a human being passes away, they're snuffed out like a moth, like a candle. No, of course not. There's got to be some sort of olam haba, some sort of world to come. And I don't waste time thinking about it. You just have hope that everything should work out. Okay. So later the rabbi told his shamus to advise the Berdichever Jews not to let any stranger enter any sukkah in the town. What is this? This is how they thank him for doing his mitzvah, for letting them use his etrog during the holiday, during the yontif. And now the rabbi is saying he should not be allowed to go into any sukkah anywhere in the town. On the first night of Sukkot, the Jew wished to enter the sukkah of the inn where he was lodging. To his amazement, he was refused admittance. He tried several other nearby Sukkot with the same result. And there was a plot against him. He runs in desperation to the rabbi and bitterly cries, have I sinned? Didn't I allow you to use my etrog? Why didn't you permit me to fulfill the mitzvah of dwelling in a sukkah? And Rav Levi Yitzchak says, if you will release me from my promise concerning the future world, I will arrange for you to be permitted to enter any sukkah in Berdichev. Now is a conundrum, because the stranger has to decide, do I want, after I die, to go and spend eternity with Rav Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev in Olam Haba, in the world to come? Or do I want the mitzvah now, in this world, of entering a sukkah? So finally he says, Rabbi, he says, you draw a hard bargain, but I'm going to I renounce the promise of spending eternity with you. I simply want to go into a sukkah now so I can make the blessing, Leishev Basukkah. And Rav Levi Yitzchak said, you see, I tempted you. I tempted you to violate this commandment. The commandment, is this Midoraisa or Midorabban? It's Midoraisa. It's from the Torah. It's not just from the rabbis. He says, and you, rather than renounce the privilege of going into a sukkah on Sukkot, you gave up your promise to spend eternity with me. And as a reward, I'm giving you the promise of eternity with me. So it's a strange story. It's I've told it many times, and I don't know. I would love to discuss it sometime. If anybody has any opinions, I'll be glad to hear them at some point. Okay, so let me see. When I tell the story I have to move the paper clip. See, I move the paper clip from the top or the side. I move it to the bottom of the page because I'm very clever. He also, Mr. Goodman, Dr. Goodman, also created an anthology for Pesach, which I do not have. At one point, I had an entire Xerox of the whole book. It's very strange. Okay, let's take a look. And excuse me, let's do the Kiddush on page. Well, I'll do the full Kaddish first. Page 48, we'll do the full Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabba, amen. Yalma divrach irutei v'yamlich machutei. V'chai chon v'mei v'chai chol beit Yisrael. Agalav v'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach. V'yolam li'ol me'ol maya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yipor, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalol, shmei dekudesha, brichu, v'yelam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nachamata, v'miyaran b'yoma v'yimru, amen. Titkabal tzloton uvuton d'cha Yisrael, kadama vuhon divishmaya v'yimru, amen. Ehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru, amen. All right, the Kiddush on page 49. Thank you. Savri mornan vrabanan vrabotai, baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, borei pri hagafen, amen. Chaim l'shalom avsimchas. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'yavav v'ratzon hitlilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishi, ki hu yom techila b'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'charta, yotanu kidashta, Mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat u'moadei kodshecha, v'yava u'v'ratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mikadesh chag ha'sukot hazeh, zman simchatenu, v'Yisrael v'hazmanim, amen. L'chaim, l'shalom, avsimchas. All right, any announcements from our wonderful Rita?
Hello, everybody. Good Shabbos. Good to see your faces. It's been a long haul through the high holidays, and we came through beautifully. And our rabbi did a wonderful job, and we're starting the new year together. And if you can, you must come in to see the sukkah that William built. It's
Yes.
absolutely beautiful. He even decorated it. It's lovely. And we went into the sukkah with Rabbi and Cantor the other morning, and everyone had wine and honey cake, and it was just absolutely lovely. Thank you, Rabbi, so much. It was just beautiful to have you with us for that service. Truly
Thank
meant
you.
it meant a lot.
Thank you, Rita.
You're very welcome. This week there's a service, a Shmini Atzeret service on Thursday, and on Saturday, Rabbi is going to be he'll tell you a little bit about it, a service that combines both Shabbat and Simchas Torah, which will be absolutely lovely. And then after the holidays are done, on November 13th, we begin our first fun event of the fall season with bingo and brunch.
Yay.
It's not to be missed. In actuality, we started, Doreen has put it on, thank you, Doreen, on the website, and we've already gotten response. If we should get good response like that for everything, like for bingo, it was absolutely wonderful. So we're starting the fall season together, and we'll be celebrating all the way through. Sandra Sachs and I have already gotten the material from Jafco to do our Jafco Hanukkah event with toys for the children who are living in residence at the Jafco facility. Thank you. And it's the loveliest project of the year, I think. It's when I start thinking about Barbie dolls and baby dolls and all those wonderful things. So we're headed for a lovely autumn, and it's my privilege to head there with you. Good Shabbos, and love you.
Yes, thank you. Good Shabbos. Thank you, Rita. That was beautiful. And I have to say, as far as whatever success we enjoyed on the high holidays was due in no small part to your efforts, because you are the heart and soul of the shul. So,
Thank you very much.
all right, we'll do the on page 51. Okay, the Aleinu, please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol l'teit gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kigoye haratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim ומשחבים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ מושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אינו and Malkeinu Ephesuato, Kakatu, the Torato, Viadatayom, Ashebo, Elvavecha, Ki Adonai, Hashamayim Bimal, Viaretz, Vitachat, Enot. Enemar, Adonai, the Melech al kol haaretz, Hayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad, Ushemo echad. If you're not saying Mourner's Kaddish, you may be seated. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, amen. V'yalma divra chirutei v'yamliach malchutei. V'chayechon v'yimechon v'chayech t'chol beit Yisrael. V'agalav v'zman kariv v'yimru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivorach v'yolam u'meil maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach. Ho'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yisrael tevenu. All right. And the Adon Olam on page 54. Adon Olam Asher Mola B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra liet nasa v'chefzo kol hazai melech shimoni pravi acharei ichlot hakol levado yimloch nohora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yiyeh v'tifara v'hu echad v'ein sheni להמשילה, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז, והמצרה, והוא אלי, וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי, בעת צרה, והוא ניסי, ומנוס לי, בנת כוסי, ביומי Rabbi Ado, Avkid Ruchi, Be'etishan, Be'ahira, Be'imruchi, Giviati, Adonai li, V'lo ira. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. Are we schmoozing? Are we schmoozable? Let me do the closing benediction. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Yo'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Lord, make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Lord, turn his face unto you and grant you peace. Say amen.
Amen.
Good job.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Hey, Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom.
Done.
Shabbat, Shabbat, Shabbat.
Good timing, Ron.
What happened?
I said good timing. You had 2 minutes.
I
I have to start over. I'm sorry.
was out on the road.
Ah.
Hi,
Okay.
Gail. It's good
Hi.
to see you. I can't wait to see you in person.
Monday, we're coming.
Oh, good, Monday.
Monday.
Wonderful.
All right.
You
well,
better
I
pick
got
up.
a question for Rita.
Uh,
I know the office is open on Mondays and Thursdays. Is there any other day that one might be able to enter into the sukkah? Because I have to be in Fort Lauderdale on Tuesday. Is there any chance? No.
I mean, you could knock on the door, see if, or pass by if you see William's blue car.
All right, I'm
And-
gonna be going by that way anyway. I'll stop by and see if there's any way.
But
Okay.
otherwise, I
Closed.
won't be there. Joni and Stu are off on vacations for about the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
So it'll just
Okay.
be, and Beth and I are going to be in the office.
Yay.
So we'll see you then. I'm sorry, sweetheart.
That's okay. That's all right. I'll
But we
figure it out.
maybe we can keep it up a little longer. No harm in keeping it up.
That's fine. That's perfectly
How
fine.
about that?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I can come back the following week. Maybe if you're gonna still have it up. I don't know how long you're gonna have it up. Okay.
It all depends on William's schedule, truthfully.
Okay, okay, no
So what I'll
worries.
do is I'll ask on Monday, I'll ask him if he can keep it going for the next week, what his plans are. And
Okay.
then we'll stay in touch. I'll let you know.
Okay,
Or
okay, so-
if I could trouble you to remind me.
No worries, and I'm gonna do a drive-by anyway on Tuesday when I'm there, because I'm passing by.
More
Okay.
than likely, William will be there.
Okay, okay,
He's always there.
okay.
And the
Thank
sukkah,
You're
the sukkah is lovely this year. So I don't know whose idea it was. They took papers that double-sided photographs that show what we do on Pesach and Purim and Tu B'Shvat and laminated them and hung them in the sukkah so we
Nice.
can use that.
Very nice.
Those were, Rabbi, those were part of our original collected
Monday.
decorations for Sukkot. But
Oh, okay.
when I came in, William had hung them from the top. So
Yeah.
and it was a breezy day when we went in,
Yeah.
and they were kind of blowing in the wind, and there were
Yes.
flowers. He tucked flowers into the sides. It was
Yes.
just lovely.
It's wonderful work. He's the best Jewish person I know.
He's amazing. He's amazing. Yes.
Yes, really. Okay, very
All
good.
right, good night, everybody. We'll see you guys in like
Take
3
care.
weeks.
Thank you, Doreen.
Bye. Good
Bon
night.
Thank
voyage.
you.
Bon
Good
voyage.
night.
Shabbos.
Good
See you.
Shabbos.